Life is a magnificent dance of possibilities, my friends. Each moment presents us with a choice: to grasp tightly onto our fears and worries, or to open our hands and hearts to the wonders that surround us. Today, we're going to talk about something that might seem counterintuitive at first, but has the power to transform your life in ways you never imagined. We're going to explore the liberating truth that you don't have to control anything. Instead, the key to unlocking your full potential and living a life of joy, peace, and fulfillment lies in learning to let go. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wayne, are you telling me to just give up and let life happen to me? Not at all. Letting go isn't about passivity or resignation. It's about aligning yourself with the natural flow of life, recognizing that there's a greater wisdom at work than our limited minds can comprehend. It's about trusting in the inherent goodness of the universe and our own innate abilities to navigate life's challenges. Think about it for a moment. How much of your day is spent trying to control things that are ultimately beyond your control? We worry about the weather, fret over other people's opinions, and attempt to micromanage every aspect of our lives and the lives of those around us. But what does all this controlling behavior really get us? Stress, anxiety, frustration, and a constant sense of falling short. The truth is, my friends, that the only thing we truly have control over is our own thoughts, attitudes, and responses to life's events. Everything else is subject to forces far greater than our individual will. The sooner we accept this reality, the sooner we can begin to experience the profound peace and joy that comes from surrendering to the flow of life. Now, I'm not suggesting that we abandon all responsibility or stop setting goals and working towards them. Far from it. What I'm proposing is a shift in perspective, a new way of approaching life that allows us to act with intention and purpose while simultaneously releasing our attachment to specific outcomes. Imagine for a moment that you're standing in a river. The water is flowing swiftly around you, and you have two choices. You can try to fight against the current, expending enormous amounts of energy to stay in one spot or move upstream. Or you can align yourself with the flow of the river, using its power to carry you forward while skillfully navigating around obstacles. Which approach do you think would be more effective and enjoyable? This is exactly what letting go is all about. It's about recognizing that life has its own current, its own flow, and that our job isn't to control that flow, but to learn how to move with it gracefully and purposefully. So how do we begin to cultivate this attitude of letting go? It starts with awareness. Begin to notice throughout your day how often you're trying to control things that are outside of your control. Are you obsessing over a future event that hasn't happened? Are you replaying past mistakes in your mind, wishing you could change them? Are you trying to force others to behave in ways that align with your expectations? As you become aware of these tendencies, practice gently releasing them. Remind yourself that you don't have to control everything. Take a deep breath and visualize yourself opening your hands and letting these worries and fears float away, like leaves on a stream. This practice of awareness and release is something you can do multiple times throughout your day. It's a skill that, like any other, improves with practice. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes, and the more you'll begin to experience the lightness and freedom that comes from letting go. Another powerful practice for cultivating a spirit of letting go is gratitude. When we're focused on controlling everything, we're often coming from a place of lack or fear. We're worried that if we don't manage every detail, something bad will happen. But when we shift our focus to gratitude, we begin to recognize the abundance that already exists in our lives. Take a moment right now to think of 3 things you're grateful for. They can be big things like your health or your loved ones, or small things like the warmth of the sun on your face or the taste of your morning coffee. As you focus on these blessings, notice how your body feels. Do you feel your shoulders relaxing? Does your breath become deeper and more relaxed? This is the power of gratitude. It shifts us out of our controlling mindset and into a state of appreciation and trust. From this place, it becomes much easier to let go and allow life to unfold naturally. Now, I want to address a common misconception about letting go. Some people believe that if they stop trying to control everything, they'll become lazy or unmotivated. Nothing could be further from the truth. When we release our death grip on life and learn to flow with it, instead of against it, we actually free up enormous amounts of energy that can be channeled into productive and meaningful pursuits. Think about how much mental and emotional energy you expend worrying about things you can't control. Now imagine if you could redirect all that energy towards your passions, your relationships, your personal growth. That's the power of letting go. It doesn't diminish our drive or ambition. It enhances it by allowing us to focus on what truly matters. Another beautiful aspect of letting go is that it opens us up to unexpected opportunities and possibilities. When we're rigidly attached to our plans and expectations, we often miss the wonderful surprises that life has in store for us. By loosening our grip and remaining open and flexible, we create space for magic to happen. I've seen this play out countless times in my own life and in the lives of others I've worked with. Someone loses a job they thought they needed to hold on to at all costs, only to discover a new career path that brings them more joy and fulfillment than they ever imagined possible. A relationship ends, causing initial heartbreak, but ultimately leading to personal growth and the discovery of a more compatible partner. A carefully laid plan falls apart, making way for an even better opportunity to arise. These kinds of experiences are available to all of us when we learn to let go and trust in the wisdom of life. It doesn't mean we become passive observers of our own lives. Rather, we become active participants in a grand dance, responding with grace and creativity to whatever life presents us with. So how do we practically apply this philosophy of letting go in our daily lives? Let's explore some specific strategies and mindsets that can help us release control and embrace the flow of life. First and foremost, we need to cultivate self-awareness. This means becoming intimately familiar with our thoughts, emotions, and habitual reactions. Many of us go through life on autopilot, reacting unconsciously to situations based on past conditioning. By developing self-awareness, we create a pause between stimulus and response, allowing us to choose our reactions more consciously. One powerful tool for developing self-awareness is meditation. Now, I know the word meditation can be intimidating for some people. You might picture yourself sitting in an uncomfortable position for hours, trying to empty your mind of all thoughts. But meditation doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. It can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly and observe your breath and your thoughts. As you practice this, you'll begin to notice the constant chatter of your mind. You'll become aware of how often your thoughts revolve around trying to control future outcomes or rehashing past events. This awareness is the first step towards letting go. Once you can see your controlling tendencies clearly, you can begin to release them. Another important aspect of letting go is learning to live in the present moment. So much of our desire for control stems from anxiety about the future or regret about the past. But the truth is, the only moment we ever truly have is this one right here, right now. When we learn to fully inhabit the present moment, we naturally let go of our need to control what's coming next or change what's already happened. Practicing mindfulness throughout your day can help you cultivate this present moment awareness. As you go about your daily activities, try to fully engage with what you're doing. If you're eating, really taste your food. If you're walking, feel the sensation of your feet touching the ground. If you're talking with someone, give them your full attention. This simple practice can profoundly shift your experience of life, moving you out of your controlling mind and into the rich, vibrant reality of the present moment. Now, I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about letting go: fear. For many of us, the idea of releasing control can feel scary. We've been conditioned to believe that if we're not constantly vigilant, constantly trying to manage every aspect of our lives, something terrible will happen. But I want you to consider this. Has all your worrying and controlling behavior actually prevented bad things, or has it simply robbed you of your peace of mind and ability to enjoy life? The truth is, my friends, that life will always contain elements of uncertainty and change. It's the nature of existence. No amount of controlling behavior can change this fundamental fact. So instead of exhausting ourselves trying to prevent the unpreventable, why not learn to dance with uncertainty? Why not cultivate the inner resources to handle whatever life brings our way with grace and resilience? This is where practices like affirmations and visualization can be incredibly powerful. By regularly affirming our inherent worth, strength, and capability, we build a solid foundation of self-trust. We begin to know at a deep level that we have what it takes to handle life's challenges. This inner knowing allows us to relax our grip on control and open ourselves to the flow of life. Try creating a few positive affirmations that resonate with you. It could be something like, I trust in the wisdom of life to guide me, or I am capable of handling whatever comes my way, or as I let go, I open myself to infinite possibilities. Repeat these affirmations to yourself daily, especially in moments when you feel the urge to control taking over. Visualization is another powerful tool for cultivating a mindset of letting go. Take a few minutes each day to close your eyes and visualize yourself moving through life with ease and grace. See yourself responding to challenges with flexibility, and imagine the feeling of peace and freedom that comes from releasing your need to control everything. The more vividly you can imagine this, the more you're priming your subconscious mind to embrace this way of being. Now let's talk about relationships, because this is an area where our controlling tendencies often show up most strongly. How many of us have tried to change our partners, our children, our friends, or our colleagues? How's that worked out for us? The truth is we can't control other people. We can influence them, we can communicate with them, we can set boundaries, but ultimately everyone has their own free will. When we try to control others, we not only frustrate ourselves, but we also damage. We send the message that the other person isn't good enough as they are, that they need to change to meet our expectations. Instead of trying to control others, what if we focus on accepting them as they are? What if we recognize that everyone is on their own unique journey with their own lessons to learn and experiences to have? This doesn't mean we become doormats or accept abusive behavior. It simply means we release our attachment to having others behave exactly as we think they should. This approach to relationships is incredibly liberating. It frees us from the exhausting job of trying to manage everyone else's behavior, and it allows our relationships to unfold naturally. We create space for genuine connection and understanding when we're not constantly trying to change or control the other person. The same principle applies to our relationship with ourselves. Many of us are incredibly hard on ourselves, constantly trying to control our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors to meet some idealized standard of perfection. But what if, instead of trying to control ourselves, we practice self-acceptance and This doesn't mean we give up on personal growth or stop striving to be our best selves. It simply means we approach our growth from a place of love and acceptance rather than criticism and control. We acknowledge our imperfections and mistakes with kindness, recognizing them as opportunities for learning and growth rather than reasons for self-condemnation. As we practice letting go in our relationships with others and ourselves, we begin to experience a profound shift in our overall quality of life. We find ourselves feeling more relaxed, more open, more capable of experiencing joy and connection. We stop wasting energy on futile attempts to control the uncontrollable and instead invest that energy in living fully and authentically. Now, I want to address another common concern that comes up when we talk about letting go. The fear of becoming passive or apathetic. Some people worry that if they stop trying to control everything, they'll lose their drive or ambition. But letting go isn't about giving up or not caring. It's about aligning ourselves with the natural flow of life and trusting in our ability to respond appropriately to whatever arises. When you're swimming in the ocean, you don't try to control the waves. That would be futile and exhausting. Instead, you learn to read the waves, to move with them, to use their energy to propel you forward. This is what letting go is all about. It's not passive. It's a highly skilled and active way of engaging with life. When we let go of our need to control everything, we actually free up enormous amounts of energy that can be channeled into productive and meaningful pursuits. Instead of exhausting ourselves fighting against reality, we can focus on taking inspired action in alignment with our values and goals. The difference between control and influence. While we can't control most external circumstances or other people's behavior, we absolutely can influence outcomes through our choices and actions. The key is to focus our energy on the things we can influence, while releasing our attachment to controlling the results. For example, if you're starting a new business, you can't control whether it will be successful or not. There are too many external factors at play, but you can influence the outcome by doing thorough research, creating a solid business plan, providing excellent products or services, and marketing effectively. You do your best, and then you let go of the results, trusting that whatever happens will provide valuable lessons and opportunities for growth. This approach allows us to take action without getting caught up in anxiety about the outcome. We do our part, and then we trust in the process of life to unfold as it. This is a much more peaceful and effective way to live than constantly trying to force things to go exactly as we think they should. Another powerful practice for cultivating a spirit of letting go is to regularly remind ourselves of the bigger picture. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day details of life, to feel like every little thing is of utmost importance. But when we step back and consider the vastness of the universe and the brevity of our individual lives, our problems and concerns often shrink into perspective. Take a moment right now to consider the fact that you're on a planet spinning through space at incredible speeds, one of billions of planets in an unimaginably vast universe. Consider the billions of years of evolution that have led to this moment, and the countless generations that will come after us. From this perspective, does it really matter if things don't go exactly as planned today? This doesn't mean we shouldn't care about our lives or try to make a positive difference in the world. It simply means we can hold our plans and expectations more lightly, recognizing that we're part of something much larger than our individual concerns. Cultivating this bigger picture perspective can be incredibly liberating. It helps us let go of our tight grip on control and opens us up to a sense of awe and wonder at the mystery of existence. From this place, we can engage with life more playfully and creatively, less burdened by the need to make everything turn out a certain way. Now let's talk about the role of faith in letting go. And when I say faith, I'm not necessarily talking about religious faith, though that can certainly be a source of strength for many people. I'm talking about faith in the fundamental goodness and wisdom of life itself. This kind of faith isn't blind optimism or magical thinking. It's a deep trust that life is inherently meaningful and that everything that happens contains the potential for growth and learning. It's the understanding that even our challenges and setbacks can serve a higher purpose in our overall development as human beings. Cultivating this kind of faith doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, something we nurture over time through our experiences and reflections. One way to develop this faith is to look back on your life and consider the challenges you've faced. How have those challenges shaped you? What have you learned from them? How have they contributed to your growth and development? As you reflect on this, you may begin to see patterns in purpose even in the difficult experiences of your life. You may recognize how events that seemed negative at the time ultimately led to positive changes. This recognition can help you trust more deeply in the wisdom of life, making it easier to let go of your need to control everything. Another powerful practice for cultivating faith and letting go is to regularly connect with something larger than yourself. This could be through communing with nature, engaging in spiritual or religious practices, or contributing to a cause you believe in. When we feel connected to something greater than our individual selves, it becomes easier to release our small personal concerns and trust in the larger flow of life. As we continue to explore this theme of letting go, I want to address the role of forgiveness. Holding on to grudges, resentments, and past hurts is a form of trying to control the past. We replay events in our minds, wishing they had gone differently, holding on to anger or sadness as if it could somehow change what happened. But the reality is, my friends, that the past is done. No amount of replaying it or holding on to negative emotions can change what has already occurred. The only thing we accomplish by holding on to these feelings is poisoning our present moment and limiting our future possibilities. Forgiveness is a powerful act of letting go. It doesn't mean condoning harmful actions or allowing yourself to be mistreated. It simply means releasing the emotional charge around past events so that they no longer control your present experience. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment and opening yourself to new. This includes forgiving ourselves. Many of us carry around guilt and shame for past mistakes or perceived shortcomings. We try to control our past by constantly rehashing it, as if punishing ourselves could somehow change what happened. But true growth and change come from self-acceptance and self-compassion, not self-punishment. Practice forgiving yourself for your mistakes and imperfections. Recognize that you're a human being, learning and growing like everyone else. As you extend this compassion to yourself, you'll find it easier to extend it to others as well, creating a positive cycle of forgiveness and letting go. Now let's talk about the power of surrender. The word surrender often has negative connotations in our culture. We associate it with giving up or admitting defeat. But spiritual surrender is something entirely different. It's not about becoming passive or resigning ourselves to circumstances we don't like. It's about recognizing that there's a wisdom at work in the universe that's far greater than our individual ego's plans and desires. Surrender is about aligning ourselves with this greater wisdom. It's about saying yes to life as it is, rather than constantly fighting against reality. This doesn't mean we don't take action to improve our circumstances or work. It simply means we do so from a place of acceptance and flow, rather than resistance and chaos. Think of surrender as the ultimate act of trust. It's like floating on your back in a river, allowing the current to carry you. You're not passive. You can still steer and swim, but you're working with the flow of the river rather than against it. This is how we can approach life when we learn to surrender our need for control. Practicing surrender might involve starting your day with a simple prayer or affirmation, something like, I surrender my plans and expectations to the wisdom of life. May I be guided to my highest good and the highest good of all. It might involve taking a few deep breaths and consciously releasing tension from your body when you find yourself getting caught up in worry or attempts to control. As you practice surrender, you may find that life begins to flow more easily. Solutions to problems arise naturally, opportunities appear unexpectedly, and you find yourself better able to handle whatever challenges come your way. This is the paradox of letting go. When we release our tight grip on life, we often find that everything we were seeking through control comes to us more easily. Another important aspect of letting go is learning to trust our intuition. Many of us have been conditioned to rely solely on logical thinking and to distrust our gut feelings or inner knowing. But our intuition is a powerful source of wisdom that can guide us when we learn to listen to it. Intuition isn't about abandoning rational thought. It's about integrating our logical mind with our deeper wisdom. It's about learning to tune into the subtle signals our body and subconscious mind are constantly sending us. Practicing mindfulness can help us become more attuned to our intuition. As we become more present and aware, we start to notice the subtle feelings and impressions that are always available to us. We begin to recognize the difference between the chatter of our anxious mind and the quiet, steady voice of our inner wisdom. Trusting your intuition is a form of letting go, because it involves releasing the need to figure everything out intellectually. It's about being willing to take inspired action even when you can't logically justify every step. As you learn to trust and act on your intuition, you may find that life becomes more fluid and synchronistic, with the right opportunities and resources showing up just when you need them. Now, I want to address the fear that often comes up when we talk about letting go. Many of us are afraid that if we release our tight grip on control, everything will fall apart. We worry that we'll become lazy or irresponsible or that we'll be taken advantage of by others. Letting go of control doesn't mean letting go of responsibility. It doesn't mean we stop taking action or working towards our goals. It simply means we do so from a place of trust and alignment rather than fear and force. In fact, when we release our need to control everything, we often find that we're able to respond more effectively to life's challenges. We become more flexible, more creative, more open to new possibilities. Instead of wasting energy fighting against reality, we can channel that energy into constructive action and personal growth. Think about times in your life when you've been in a state of flow, perhaps while engaged in a hobby you love, or while having a deep conversation with a friend. In those moments, you weren't trying to control everything. You were fully present, responding naturally and effectively to whatever arose. That state of flow is available to us in all areas of life when we learn to let go. Another powerful practice for letting go is cultivating patience. In our fast-paced and instant gratification culture, we often feel that everything needs to happen right now. We want immediate results, immediate solutions to our problems, immediate fulfillment of our desires. This impatience often leads to attempts to force outcomes, to control and manipulate situations to get what we want as quickly as possible. But nature doesn't work on our preferred timeline. Seeds don't sprout the moment they're planted. Fruit doesn't ripen just because we want it to. Everything has its own natural rhythm and timing. When we learn to align ourselves with these natural rhythms, to cultivate patience and trust in the unfolding of life, we free ourselves from a great deal of stress and struggle. Practicing patience might involve setting goals and taking action towards them, but then releasing your attachment to when and how those goals will be achieved. It might involve reminding yourself when you're in the midst of a challenge that it might involve taking a few deep breaths and choosing to respond thoughtfully to a situation rather than reacting impulsively. As you cultivate patience, you may find that your need for control naturally diminishes. You become more comfortable with the ebb and flow of life, more trusting in the process of growth and change. This patience and trust allow you to move through life with greater ease. Now let's talk about the power of acceptance. Many of us spend a great deal of energy resisting what is. We argue with reality, wishing things were different than they are. But as the saying goes, what you resist persists. The more we fight against reality, the more we suffer. Acceptance doesn't mean we like everything that happens or that we don't take action to improve our circumstances. It simply means we acknowledge reality as it is without wasting energy wishing it were different. From this place of acceptance, we can then choose how we want to respond. Practicing acceptance might involve taking a few moments each day to acknowledge your current reality without judgment. It might involve saying to yourself, this is what is happening right now when you find yourself in a challenging situation. It might involve consciously relaxing your body and releasing tension. When you notice yourself resisting something, as you practice acceptance, you may find that much of your stress and struggle naturally falls away. You become more present, more able to see clearly and act effectively. This is the power of accepting what is. It frees up your energy to focus on what you can actually influence and change. Another important aspect of letting go is learning to embrace uncertainty. Many of our attempts to control stem from a fear of the unknown. We try to plan for every contingency to eliminate all risk and unpredictability from our lives. But the reality is life is inherently uncertain. No matter how much we plan and prepare, we can never know for sure what the future holds. Instead of seeing this uncertainty as a threat, what if we could embrace it as an exciting possibility? What if we could approach the unknown with curiosity and openness rather than fear and resistance? This shift in perspective can be incredibly liberating. Embracing uncertainty might involve regularly stepping out of your comfort zone and trying new things. It might involve consciously choosing to see challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. It might involve reminding yourself, when you're facing a big decision, that there's no way to know for sure what the outcome will be. And that's okay. As you learn to embrace uncertainty, you may find that life becomes more of an adventure. You become more adaptable, more resilient, more able to handle whatever comes your way. This is the gift of letting go of our need for certainty and control. We open ourselves to the full richness and possibility of life. Now, I want to talk about the importance of self-care in the process of letting go. Learning to release control can be challenging, especially if we spent much of our lives trying to manage every aspect of our experience. It's important to be gentle with ourselves as we undertake this journey. Self-care isn't about indulgence or escape. It's about nurturing ourselves physically, emotionally, and spiritually so that we have the inner resources to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. When we're well cared for, we're naturally more able to let go and trust in the flow of life. Practicing self-care might involve setting aside time each day for activities that nourish you. Perhaps meditation, exercise, creative expression, or time in nature. It might involve learning to set healthy boundaries, saying no to commitments that drain you and yes to those that energize you. It might involve seeking support from friends, family, or a therapist as you work through the fears and beliefs that drive your need for control. As you prioritize self-care, you may find that your need for external control naturally diminishes. You become more centered, more grounded in your own inner strength and wisdom. This inner stability allows you to move through life with greater ease and flexibility. Another powerful practice for letting go is cultivating a sense of humor. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns, and things often don't go according to plan. Instead of getting frustrated or trying to force things back on track, what if we could learn to laugh at the absurdity of it all? Humor helps us take ourselves and our problems less seriously. It provides a valuable perspective shift, allowing us to see the lighter side of challenging situations. When we can laugh at ourselves and our attempts to control life, we naturally loosen our grip. Cultivating a sense of humor might involve seeking out comedy that resonates with you. It might involve practicing seeing the funny side of frustrating situations. It might involve sharing a laugh with friends about the various ways your attempts to control life have backfired. As you cultivate this lighter perspective, you may find that life becomes more enjoyable, even in the midst of challenges. You become more able to go with the flow, to adapt to changes with grace and good humor. Now let's talk about the role of creativity in letting go. Many of us have been conditioned to approach life in a very linear, goal-oriented way. We set objectives, make plans, and then try to control every step of the process to reach our desired outcome. But life rarely unfolds in such a straightforward manner. What if, instead of trying to control every step of the journey, we approached life more like an artist approaches a blank canvas? An artist doesn't know exactly what the final painting will look like when they begin. They start with an inspiration, a general idea, and then they allow the creative process to unfold naturally, responding to what emerges on the canvas. We can approach life in a similar way. We can set intentions and take inspired action, but then remain open and flexible, allowing our path to unfold organically. This requires trust in our own creativity and in the creative process of life. Cultivating creativity might involve engaging in artistic pursuits. Even if you don't consider yourself talented, it might involve approaching problems from new angles, brainstorming wild ideas without immediately judging their practice. It might involve saying yes to new experiences and opportunities, even if they don't seem to fit into your plan. As you nurture your creativity, you may find that life becomes more of an exciting co-creation. You become more able to improvise, to adapt to changing circumstances, to see opportunities where others see obstacles. This creative approach to life naturally involves letting go of rigid control and embracing the flow of inspiration and possibility. Another important aspect of letting go is learning to live in harmony with nature. In our modern, technology-driven world, it's easy to become disconnected from the natural rhythms of life. We try to push through fatigue, ignore our body's signals, and force ourselves to be productive at all hours of the day and night. But we are part of nature, not separate from it. When we learn to align ourselves with natural cycles of day and night, of seasons, of our own energy levels, we naturally let go of much of our need for control. We begin to trust in the wisdom of our bodies and the natural world. Living in harmony with nature might involve spending more time outdoors, observing and appreciating the natural world around you. It might involve adjusting your sleep schedule to align more closely with the rising and setting of the sun. It might involve paying attention to how your energy levels fluctuate throughout the day and month and planning your activities accordingly. As you cultivate this connection with nature, you may find that many things in your life begin to flow more easily. You become more attuned to natural rhythms and cycles, more able to go with the flow rather than constantly fighting against it. Now, I want to address the fear of vulnerability that often comes up when we talk about letting go. Many of us use control as a way to protect ourselves from hurt, disappointment, or failure. We think that if we can just manage everything perfectly, we can avoid pain and ensure our safety and success. But the truth is, my friends, that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's the birthplace of courage, innovation, and genuine connection. When we let go of our need for control and allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open ourselves to a fuller, richer experience of life. Being vulnerable might involve expressing your true feelings, even when it's scary. It might involve taking risks in pursuit of your dreams, knowing that failure is always a possibility. It might involve asking for help when you need it, rather than trying to do everything on your own. As you practice allowing yourself to be vulnerable, you may find that your relationships deepen, your creativity flourishes, and your resilience grows. You become more authentic, more fully yourself, no longer constrained by the armor of control you've built around yourself. Another powerful practice for letting go is cultivating mindfulness. Many of our attempts to control stem from being caught up in thoughts about the past or future. We replay past events, wishing we had done things differently, or we project into the future, trying to plan for every possible scenario. Mindfulness brings us back to the present moment, the only place where we have any real power or influence. When we're fully present, we naturally let go of our attempts to control past or future, and we become more able to respond effectively to what's actually happening right now. Practicing mindfulness might involve setting aside time each day for formal meditation. It might involve using everyday activities, like eating, walking, or washing dishes, as opportunities to practice presence. It might involve regularly checking in with yourself throughout the day, noticing your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations without judgment. As you cultivate mindfulness, you may find that your need for control naturally diminishes. You become more able to accept each moment as it is, to respond flexibly to what's actually happening rather than reacting based on fears or projections. Now let's talk about the power of trust. Many of our attempts to control stem from a fundamental lack of trust in ourselves, in others, in life itself. We feel that if we don't manage every detail, everything will fall apart. But what if we could cultivate a deep trust in our own resilience, in the goodwill of others, in the fundamental benevolence of life? This kind of trust doesn't mean we become naive or ignore real dangers. It simply means we approach life with an open heart and a fundamental belief in possibility. We trust that we have the resources to handle whatever comes our way, that people are generally doing their best, and that life is ultimately supportive of our growth and well-being. Cultivating trust might involve reflecting on past experiences where things worked out even when you let go of control. It might involve consciously choosing to see the best in others, giving them the benefit of the doubt. It might involve regularly affirming your trust in the wisdom of life, even when things aren't going as you'd hoped. As you nurture this sense of trust, you may find that life begins to feel more supportive and less threatening. You become more able to relax, to let things unfold naturally, to cooperate with the flow of life rather than constantly fighting against it. Another important aspect of letting go is learning to listen to our bodies. Many of us have been conditioned to override our body's signals, to push through fatigue, ignore hunger, or suppress emotions. This is a form of control. We're trying to force our bodies to conform to our mental ideas of how things should be. But our bodies have their own wisdom. When we learn to listen to and honor our physical sensations, emotions, and intuitions, we naturally let go of much of our need for mental control. We begin to trust in the inherent intelligence of our whole being. Listening to your body might involve taking regular breaks throughout the day to check in with how you're feeling physically and emotionally. It might involve learning to distinguish between genuine physical hunger and emotional eating. It might involve allowing yourself to rest when you're tired, rather than pushing through with caffeine or willpower. As you practice tuning into your body's wisdom, you may find that many aspects of your life naturally come into better balance. You become more attuned to your true needs and desires, more able to take care of yourself in a genuine way. Now, let's talk about the importance of community in the process of letting go. Many of us try to go it alone, to handle everything by ourselves. This isolated approach often increases our need for control as we feel solely responsible for making everything work out. But humans are inherently social beings. We thrive when we're connected to others, when we have support systems and a sense of belonging, when we're part of a supportive community. It becomes easier to let go of our need for individual control. Cultivating community might involve reaching out to friends and family, deepening existing relationships. It might involve seeking out groups or organizations aligned with your values and interests. It might involve being willing to both give and receive support, recognizing that interdependence is a strength, not a weakness. As you nurture your connections with others, you may find that your need for personal control diminishes. You become more able to rely on others, to collaborate, to see yourself as part of a larger whole rather than an isolated individual responsible for control. Another powerful practice for letting go is cultivating a sense of purpose or meaning in life. Many of our attempts to control stem from a sense of emptiness or lack of direction. We try to manage every detail of our lives in an attempt to create a sense of significance or accomplishment. But when we're connected to a larger sense of purpose, when we feel that our lives have meaning beyond our individual concerns, we naturally let go of much of our need for control. We become more focused on contributing, on aligning ourselves with our values and vision, rather than on managing every detail. Finding your purpose doesn't necessarily mean you need to save the world or do something grandiose. It's about connecting to what truly matters to you, what gives your life a sense of meaning and direction. This might involve reflecting on your values, on what you feel called to contribute to the world. It might involve experimenting with different activities and causes until you find what resonates deeply with you. As you connect with your sense of purpose, you may find that many of your fears and worries naturally fall away. You become more focused on what truly matters, more willing to let go of the small stuff in service of your larger vision. Now, I want to address the role of patience in letting go. Many of us struggle with letting go because we want immediate results. We think that if we just try hard enough, we can make things happen on our preferred timeline. But life doesn't always work that way. Now, true change often happens slowly, organically. Just as a seed needs time to germinate and grow into a plant, the process of letting go and allowing life to unfold naturally takes time. It requires patience and trust in the process. Cultivating patience might involve reminding yourself, when you're feeling frustrated or impatient, that everything has its own natural timing. It might involve focusing on the small, daily actions you can take towards your goals, rather than obsessing over the end result. It might involve practicing acceptance of where you are right now, even as you work towards where you want to be. As you nurture patience, you may find that your need for control naturally diminishes. You become more able to enjoy the journey, to appreciate each step of the process rather than constantly striving for the destination. Another important aspect of letting go is learning to embrace change. Many of our attempts to control stem from a fear of change, a desire to keep things stable and predictable. But change is an inevitable part of life. Everything is constantly in flux, whether we like it or not. Instead of resisting change, what if we could learn to welcome it? What if we could see change not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth, learning, and new experiences? Embracing change might involve regularly stepping out of your comfort zone and trying new things. It might involve reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. It might involve cultivating flexibility in your thinking and behavior, being willing to adapt your plans and expectations as circumstances change. As you learn to embrace change, you may find that life becomes more of an adventure. You become more resilient, more able to roll with the punches and find opportunity in unexpected situations. This adaptability naturally involves letting go of rigid control and embracing the dynamic nature of life. Now, let's talk about the power of forgiveness in the process of letting go. Many of us hold on to resentments, grudges, and past hurts. We replay these painful experiences in our minds, wishing we could change what happened or punish those who hurt us. This is a form of trying to control the past, and it often keeps us stuck and unable to fully engage with the present. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful actions or allowing yourself to be mistreated. It's about releasing the emotional charge around past events so that they no longer control your present experience. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment and opening yourself to new possibilities. Practicing forgiveness might involve reflecting on past hurts and consciously choosing to release your anger or resentment. It might involve recognizing that everyone, including yourself, is doing the best they can with the awareness they have at the time. It might involve focusing on what you've learned from difficult experiences rather than wishing they hadn't happened. As you cultivate forgiveness, you may find that much of your need for control naturally falls away. You become more able to live in the present moment, unencumbered by past hurts or future fears. Another powerful practice for letting go is cultivating gratitude. When we're focused on controlling everything, we're often coming from a place of lack or fear. We're worried that if we don't manage every detail, something bad will happen or we won't have enough. But when we shift our focus to gratitude, we begin to recognize the abundance that already exists in our lives. We become more aware of all the things that are working well, all the blessings we already have. From this place of abundance, it becomes easier to let go of our need for control. Practicing gratitude might involve starting or ending each day by listing 3 things you're grateful for. It might involve pausing throughout the day to appreciate the small pleasures, a warm cup of coffee, a beautiful sunset, a kind word from a friend. It might involve focusing on what's going right in your life rather than obsessing over what's going wrong. As you nurture a sense of gratitude, you may find that your fears and worries naturally diminish. You become more trusting in the fundamental goodness of life, more able to appreciate each moment as it comes rather than trying to control what happens next. Now, I want to address the importance of self-compassion in the process of letting go. Many of us are incredibly hard on ourselves. We have high expectations and judge ourselves harshly when we fall short. This self-criticism often increases our need for control, as we try to avoid making mistakes or appearing imperfect. But what if we could treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a good friend? What if we could recognize that making mistakes and having flaws is part of being human, not a sign of failure or unworthiness? Practicing self-compassion might involve speaking to yourself kindly, especially when you're struggling or have made a mistake. It might involve recognizing your common humanity, understanding that everyone faces challenges and imperfections. It might involve mindfully acknowledging your pain or difficulty without exaggerating or suppressing it. As you cultivate self-compassion, you may find that your need for control naturally diminishes. You become more accepting of yourself and your experiences, more able to learn and grow from challenges rather than trying to avoid them at all. Another powerful practice for letting go is learning to live in the present moment. Many of our attempts to control stem from anxiety about the future or regret about the past. We try to manage every detail in an attempt to ensure a particular future outcome, or we obsess over past events, wishing we could change what happened. But the truth is, the only moment we ever really have is this one right here, right now. When we learn to fully inhabit the present moment, we naturally let go of much of our need to control past or future. Living in the present moment might involve regularly practicing mindfulness meditation. It might involve fully engaging in whatever you're doing, whether it's eating a meal, having a conversation, or completing a work task. It might involve regularly checking in with your senses, what you can see, hear, feel, smell, and taste right now. As you learn to live more fully in the present, you may find that many of your worries and attempts at control naturally fall away. You become more able to respond effectively to what's actually happening rather than reacting based on fears or projections. Now let's talk about the power of acceptance and letting go. Many of us spend a great deal of energy resisting what is. We argue with reality, wishing things were different than they are. But as the saying goes, what you resist, the more we fight against reality, the more we suffer. Acceptance doesn't mean we like everything that happens or that we don't take action to improve our circumstances. It simply means we acknowledge reality as it is without wasting energy wishing it were different. From this place of acceptance, we can then choose how we want to respond. Practicing acceptance might involve regularly reminding yourself, this is what is happening right now. It might involve consciously relaxing your body when you notice yourself tensing up against reality. It might involve looking for the opportunity or lesson in challenging situations rather than simply wishing they weren't happening. As you cultivate acceptance, you may find that much of your stress and struggle naturally falls away. You become more present, more able to see clearly and act effectively. This is the power of accepting what is. It frees up your energy to focus on what you can actually influence and change. In conclusion, my friends, letting go of control is not about becoming passive or resigning ourselves to circumstances we don't like. It's about aligning ourselves with the natural flow of life, trusting in our own resilience and in the fundamental benevolence of the universe. It's about recognizing that we are part of something much larger than our individual egos, and that when we surrender to this greater wisdom, life often unfolds in ways more beautiful and profound than we could have imagined. Remember, letting go is a practice. It's not something we achieve once and for all, but something we cultivate day by day, moment by moment. Be patient and compassionate with yourself as you undertake this journey. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may seem. And trust that each time you choose to let go, you're opening yourself to greater peace, joy, and fulfillment. You have within you all the wisdom and strength you need to navigate life's challenges. As you learn to trust this inner wisdom, to align yourself with the flow of life rather than fighting against it, you'll discover a sense of ease and grace that no amount of control could ever provide. So I invite you, my friends, to join me in this practice of letting go. Let's release our tight grip on life and open ourselves to the wonder and possibility of each moment. Let's trust in the journey, even when we can't see the destination, for it's in this letting go that we truly begin to live. Thank you for your attention and openness. May you go forth with courage and trust, embracing the beautiful adventure of life. Remember, you don't have to control anything. Just let go and watch as life unfolds in all its magnificent mystery.